So resumes. I could stand here for like hours and talk about resumes. That's actually my core strength as a career person. I'm not going to do that because that's not what the talk is about today. But I will give you a couple tips about resumes specifically. These are tips that I use all the time. I'm actually a resume writer at my own firm. I also do resumes on theladders.com. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. Wall Street Journal, Quizzo, with things like this. So you both pay me a lot of money to do these resumes, but free tips, just for you. The first thing to note about resumes is there is no standard resume. Probably, and nod your head if you agree with this, you've probably heard 100 different people's opinions. You ask 100 people, and 100 people will have a different opinion about your resume. Am I right? Yeah. That's totally normal. Because resumes should be tailored to each individual person. Depending on what you want to do, that document should reflect something else. That being said, there's a couple rules that you really should follow. First of all, do not go over 2 or 3 pages, please. Don't. It is a killer. Unless you're doing a CV. A CV is a different document. A CV is specifically for academic pursuits or when you're trying to prove expertise in something. Like you are you're a journalist or something like this, where you need to show your bodies of work. Stick to the resume. Resume will never go beyond 2 or 3 pages. My rule of thumb is if you've got around 7 or 8 years of experience, you probably can go on to that 2-page, maybe sometimes 6, depending how various your career is. If you've got about over 25 years of experience, you might be able to go on to that 3rd page and really fill it up. Just ask yourself and just be honest, is this 2nd or 3rd page really valuable? Be honest with yourself and figure out your paging. So that's number 1. Number 2, focus on your skills and achievements. A lot of people waste a lot of space on their resume talking too much about the context of their job. That's not why people are hiring you, really. They want to know what were your responsibilities, what skills and tasks did you perform and who you worked with, and most importantly, what did you achieve? That's where you should spend your space on your resume. Make sure you do that. Also, very important, aesthetics. If you want to seem professional, your aesthetics better be professional. Don't have mistakes. Don't have weird fonts. Don't have line spacings that are wrong. Just make sure it looks crisp. However you want to do that, it's up to you. But just make sure it looks crisp. I have opinions about that, but everybody's different. So there you go. Lastly, and this is sort of something I'll leave you for the resume and leave the aligned world behind, is when you think about resumes, there's 2 different mindsets you have to cater to. So the first is the 15-second scan. You've heard that a lot, probably. For that, the most important thing you have to do is make sure you have your skills there and bullet your achievements. Don't bullet anything else, because the bullets are going to draw the eyes. So you want to prove somebody that they should read more. The second mindset that you have to cater to is the deeper read. So once you've convinced somebody that actually I'm worth your time, please read my resume, then they're going to actually really read it. And that's when you have to focus on the actual content and use words and phrases that are really rich and valuable, not bland words or standard words that don't really even mean anything. So it takes a very long time to write a resume. I'm a professional resume writer. It takes me about 10 hours to write a really great resume, and I'm fast. So you can judge for yourself whether or not you really spent enough time really thinking about your resume and doing the right things. So that's that. After you've done all this, essentially this aligned stuff is getting your house in order. It's knowing yourself, putting yourself down on paper, really making sure that the way you're communicating about yourself is valuable, it's differentiated, and it's consistent throughout your resume. So you've done this now. What do you do next? Step 2 is connect. There's 2 different ways to connect, and I find that depending on your generation, you avoid one or the other. So you shouldn't do that. You need to do both. What I'm talking about is both online and offline. You cannot ignore for the Gen Y and millennials and things. Don't ignore offline. a lot of people actually do. For Gen X or baby boomers, etc., don't ignore online. You can't do that anymore. Recruiting has changed. How you present yourself has changed. Business has changed. So there's lots to be said about that. I know the presentation before talked about a lot of the offline or online methodologies. Bare minimum in terms of online, the things you need to be doing are have a 100% complete LinkedIn profile. Must. And when I say complete profile, I mean actually filling in the places where you have to write things in paragraphs. Do it. Those are keyword searches. LinkedIn right now is 40 million strong, and it's the #1 tool right now used by recruiters. If you're not on there, and if you don't have a filled out profile, you might as well not be on this planet. You need to be on there. Facebook is personal. Do what you want, but just realize people are going to look at it. So don't do anything embarrassing. Using Twitter and all these things. Also Google yourself. Find what's on there. Unfortunately, there's not that much that can be done about taking away negatives. But what you can do is flood it with positives. So people who I've worked with that have, said something stupid in some article somewhere and it came up very high on their Google. And so one of the things I told them to do was enroll in a lot of 5Ks. Brilliant. And so they would run these 5Ks and 10K races and things like this, and their results would come up.